as is the Geerz tradition, we'd like to begin with the tefillah for Medinat Yisrael and the tefillah for the Chayalim. It's my pleasure to honor with the tefillah for Medinat Yisrael, Sam Michelson.
אבינו שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו, ברך מדינת ישראל, ראשית צמיחת גאולתנו. הגן עליה בברכת חסדך, ופרוס עליה סוכת שמך, ושלח אורך ומזבח לראשיה, שריה ויועציה, ותקדם בעצה טובה מלפניך. חזק את ידי מגיני ארץ קודשנו, והנחילם אלוהינו ישועה, ותרת ניצחון תעטרם. ונתת שלום בארץ ושמחת עולם ליושביה. ותכינו כל בית ישראל פקודנה בכל ארצות בזוריהם, ותוליכים מהרה כרמיל וציון יראך וירושלים משכן שמך. ככתוב בתורת משה עבדיך, אם יהיה נידחך בקצה השמיים, משם יגבצך אדוני אלוהיך, משם ייקחך. ויביאך אדוני אלוהיך אל הארץ אשר ירשו אבותיך וירשתה, ויטיבך וירבך מאבותיך. ומל אדוני אלוהיך את לבבך ואת לבב זרעך לאהבת אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך למען חייך. ויחד לבבינו לאהבה ליראת שמך, ולשמור כל דברי תורתך, ושלח לנו מהרה בן דוד משיח צדקך, לפתות מחכי קץ ישועתך. הופעה בהדר גאון עוזך, על כל יושבי תבל ארצך. ויאמר כל אשר נשמה ביפו, אדוני אלוהי ישראל המלך, ומלכותו בכל משלה, אמן וסלח.
And now for the tefillah for the Chayalim, we're honored to call up Jeremy Lustman.
ישברך אבותינו אברהם יצחק יעקב ויברך את חיילי צבא ההגנה לישראל ואנשי כוחות הביטחון העומדים על משמר ארצנו וירא אלוהינו מגבול מי הלבנון ועד מדבר מצרים מן הים הגדול עד לבוא הערבה וכל מקום שהם ביבשה באוויר ובים. ייתן אדוני עצמנו קמים עלינו נגפים לפניהם. הקדוש ברוך הוא ישמר ויציל את חיילינו מכל צור וצוקה מכל נגע ומחלה, וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיהם. ידבר שונאינו תחתיהם ויעטרם בחסר ישוע ועטרת ניצחון. ויקרא להם הכתוב כי אדוני אלוהיכם ההולך עמכם להילחם לכם עם אויביכם להושיע אתכם ונאמר אמן.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 10th annual Geerz Banquet presentation. Before we start, I'd like you guys to please look around the room. Look at the people next to you. Look at the people you've ridden with today, the people you've schmoozed, you've had l'chaims with, and acknowledge a particular fact. This is not just a room full of good people. This is a room of great people, and I mean that very sincerely. More about that a little bit later. I can't tell you how gratified and how appreciative we are about the fact that you guys are here tonight. This has been an abysmal year. I mean, I'm sort of well known for talking in superlatives and hyperbole, but abysmal is pretty apt description even by my lofty standards of exaggeration. It's been rough for all of us. Many of us have served, many of us have spent many sleepless nights with children who've served. We have kids suffering from trauma. There's been damage, parnassas have been devastated, people are out of work, people who are at work are devastated by the loss of natural ongoing sources of income, and yet 150 riders decided to come here tonight and dedicate their time, their efforts, their fundraising ability, their creativity, their energy, and quite frankly, simply their love on behalf of other people. That, my friends, is not the act of good people. That's the act of great people. And we are so incredibly grateful to be associated with you. And I thank you really very much from the bottom of my heart, from the bottom of the hearts of the entire Geerz family. And you'll learn more about who these people are in a couple of minutes. You know, I actually wanted to thank a whole bunch of riders who have done many special things. People who helped out with our website, and people who helped out with our social media, and people who helped out with logistics and being bus monitors. And the truth of the matter is, I realized that this list would be so incredibly long, and then it also occurred to me that there's virtually nobody here who's not done us a huge personal favor way beyond the call of duty. So please, I ask your forgiveness, because so many of you have done things which richly deserve and demand our acknowledgement, but please be mocha me, because I don't want to omit anybody, but please understand and know that we appreciate you beyond what words can describe. Do you know, Geerz is an organization which serves many sectors of society, and I'll talk about that in my concluding remarks. But what Geerz also is a community. With this over here, what you see around you is a sense of community which is quite extraordinary. All of us have suffered from depression in the past year. Nobody here has not suffered. And it's always, for me at least, an incredible solace, an incredible sense of chizuk to be associated with people who have a smile for you, care. How's your son doing? How's the ride going? How are you guys doing in terms of your fundraising? People here genuinely care. You know, it's funny, we live in an age of incredible cynicism. I just read the papers, right? BB this and the good country this, right? Incompetence and political cynicism. But think about this. We're surrounded over here by people who have made a huge difference. A huge, huge difference. I'd like to give a very, very short Dvar Torah. Parshat Ba'alotecha is essentially a chronicle of incessant pathological complainers. It's one thing after the next. You say to yourself, here's the people who have been privileged to experience the Ribono Shel Olam in the most palpable and tangible sense. Man falls from heaven, they get the Slav. It's unbelievable what's going on. The Ananei Kavod. And all these people can do is complain. They moan and they lament, and nothing is good enough. And at some point, there's just a sense of helplessness, right? There's two reactions to things really being lousy. One is to lament and to kvetch and to do nothing about it and expect others and blame others, right? That's the victim culture or the blame culture. And the other is to do something about it. Moshe Rabbeinu is at a point of ultimate despair. In fact, surprisingly enough, the greatest man in human history asked the Ribono Shel Olam to kill him. How's that for depression? You know what Hashem says? Hashem says, you know, Moshe, I'm going to help you. I'm going to give you 70 guys who are doers. They're going to make a difference. And by the way, how are they going to make a difference? It's not independent. I'm going to give from your ruach, Moshe, the despair. You feel that your life has been essentially an exercise in futility. Here you are after all these years of leadership, and here's where you are. I'm going to show you, Moshe. Your ruach is going to rest upon them, and they're going to be doers. They're going to be the leaders of Klal Yisrael. When I look around this room, that's what I see. I see plenty of cynicism in the daily papers. I'm unfortunately a news junkie, and I read the Jerusalem Post and whine it, 50 times a day. I really shouldn't, but I do. And all you see is cynicism. Every op-ed is filled with what's wrong, the fact that there's no long-term planning in the country, and the fact that there's absolute, it's just so cynical, and it is so depressing. Right, that's the reality. You know what that is? That is B'nai Yisrael and Parshat Ba'alotecha. And I look around this room, you know what I see? I see Shivim Zikanim, people who get up and decide we're making a difference. So we're going to tell you the objective of the program tonight is to show you what kind of a difference it is that you're making. The program tonight is this. First, I'm going to introduce our fearless leader, Nachum. It's not a long program. Next, I'm going to introduce somebody, Shmuel Bonomo, who is a madrich in our youth village. We know our youth village programs are a major initiative. And finally, I'm going to introduce a reservist soldier who's going to be representing the newest Geerz initiative, the reservist program. So first, Nachum. Nachum, as you all know, is many things. First and foremost, Nachum is a visionary. He's a man who sees people in need and decides, against all odds, to do something about it. He's a doer. Nachum, unlike most people, we all have ideas, and some of them are quite brilliant. But how many ideas have we had in our lives that have simply fallen short due to lack of prosecution, lack of energy, lack of time, lack of commitment? Nachum thinks big, but Nachum does bigger. The Geerz family now numbers in the thousands, over 650 just this year, and family members deeply involved. There's nobody within the thousands of members of the Geerz family who's not at some point felt the warmth of Nachum's embrace, his warmth, his kindness. Thousands of people. Think about that. One man impacting thousands of people. Nachum is also a cool dude. Dude is Nachum's word, by the way, not mine. I would think of something really polysyllabic. Geerz started out essentially as an organization that was guys who wanted to ride and hang out with Nachum, right? If you guys have hung out with him, he's a lot of fun. But to his great credit, Nachum made sure that Geerz did not evolve into a personality cult. Quite the contrary. Nachum never made Geerz about him. It was always about the kids and about the soldiers and about the families who are being served. So ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to welcome to the podium the king of Kaboom, Nachum Wasowski.
Told Chaim to think of a polysyllabic dude. He hasn't done that yet. Good evening, everyone. Before I begin, I want to recognize someone truly exceptional. It's my turn. Our ride director and tonight's MC, Chaim Wisman. For 7 years, Chaim's dedication and vision have elevated the gig ride while keeping its sense of community at the center. Chaim is unstoppable and unbreakable. And if you know him, you know it's not an exaggeration. This is the man who rode into a tree after a bee startled him and broke his neck. Crashed his Tesla into a city bus 3 weeks ago. And then 2 weeks ago, rode his bike straight into a moving fire truck. He's been hiding this, but here he is tonight leading us once again with a slew of broken ribs. But that's who he is, resilient, committed, and somehow still smiling. I also want to thank our assistant ride director, Sender Gross. As Geerz grows nearly 20% every single year, the details multiply, and Sender is the one who keeps all of them from slipping through the cracks. While Chaim and I are out crashing into things, I had my own last week as well, Sender's quietly holding the entire operation together with spreadsheets, pivot tables, and superhuman organization. Sender, thank you for being the calm, steady adult in the room. We truly could not do this without you. And of course, a huge thank you to our incredible Geerz staff. Your dedication, passion, your dedication and passion turn our mission into something real and transformative every single day. You are the engine behind everything we do. I also want to express my deep gratitude to everyone who makes the gig ride possible. This event has countless moving parts, and every role truly matters. The boats team, Sasha at Israel Ways, who's back there, our Geerz volunteers and hospitality crew, and the medics. Your hard work keeps everything running smoothly and makes this experience unforgettable. Thank you. I want to tell each one of you, thank you for being here and welcome home. Because that's what this ride has become. Not just an event or fundraiser, but a family. A slightly crazy mishpacha that thinks waking up at sunrise to climb mountains on bikes is a good idea. And yet every year you come back. Why? Because something happens here that's hard to explain. Yes, there are trails and adventure, but what really happens is deeper. People reconnect to themselves, to each other, to Israel, and to purpose. And tonight I want you to understand the impact of what you built, every one of you in this room. 14 years ago, Geerz was just a dream. An idea that a mountain bike could be a tool for healing. And then kids started changing. Kids who felt alone found a community. Kids with anxiety found confidence. Kids who were lost found direction. Today, 550 Israeli youth ride with Geerz every week. 550 young people who know someone believes in them, not through lectures, but through someone showing up and riding beside them. And please make sure, if you haven't yet, to look around at all of these poster boards over here and read just a little bit about who they are. Then October 7th changed everything. And like every organization here in Israel, we all asked, what do we do now? The answer was simple. We do what Geerz has always done. We ride beside people through difficult terrain. Only now the emotional and visible terrain would include adults. So we opened Geerz for IDF soldiers. And on these rides, you see something powerful. Pain slowly turning into breath. Silence turning into conversation. Heaviness turning into moments of feeling normal again. Today, we have 70 soldiers that have participated in the Geerz IDF Veteran program, and 300 more are waiting. So tonight is not just a celebration, it's a responsibility. Here's the dream. We currently have 550 youth every single week in Geerz. We want 550 soldiers in the program. I believe we can get there, not because of one person, one donor, but because of this beautiful community that Chaim just spoke so wonderfully about. You guys chose to show up. You show up to ride, to care, to build, to understand the existence of invisible wounds and the importance of alternative forms of therapeutic healing. And in a world that feels broken and divided, this is what matters. So tonight, thank you. Thank you for believing in our youth, our soldiers, healing, and in each other. Thank you for proving that even in difficult times, hope is still stronger than despair. May we all continue to ride together, to heal together, one trail, one rider, one life at a time. Am Yisrael Chai.
Most of you know that one of Geerz's principal initiatives is our Youth Village program. I'd like to first of all acknowledge somebody who drove here all the way from Beit Shemesh, who's been incredibly active and influential in our Youth Village programs, particularly for young women, Sima Menorah. Sima, take a bow. Thank you, Sima. But I think many of us don't really understand what the Youth Village program is about. So we brought somebody here to tell you from the inside. Many of you know Shmuel Bonomo. Shmuel Bonomo is retired. Shmuel Bonomo, it's not an easy name, by the way. Shmuel Bonomo was a very successful professional. He's got lots and lots of kids. He is about 40 years older than most of you in this room and can outride you by a 10-to-1 ratio. That goes for virtually everybody in this room. What most impresses me about Shmuel Bonomo is that he spent 4 years volunteering, won't take a penny, not even gas money, going each week to a youth village and creating a profound impact on dozens of children. Shmuel Bonomo is also a person who exudes positivity. I remember my grandfather, who, without a little Prozac, was not a very happy guy. I'm not kidding about this. The truth of the matter is, as we get older, you know, the realm of possibilities tends to diminish, and quite frankly, most people get a little bit down. If you want the antidote to that, talk to Shmuel Bonomo. The man absolutely exudes warmth and positivity and vitality. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce Shmuel Bonomo.
Thank you, Chaim, for this very nice introduction. I'm going to add a few bits and pieces about my own introduction, but since everybody is asking me, where does this name come from? Bonomo, right. So, Bonomo is the name of my parents who came from Turkey and emigrated to Belgium in 1950. And I was born and raised in Belgium, made Aliyah at the age of 20, and that explains my funny English accent. Right? So Bonomo is a Spanish name because the Jews in Turkey were all actually coming originally from Spain. And Bonomo probably means bon homo, good man. My parents spoke Ladino at home. And that's all about my name. Now, as I said, I came at the age of 20, and Baruch Hashem, we've been living in Hashmonaim, right, clearly, for the last nearly 40 years. Chaim mentioned that we have a lot of kids, so Baruch Hashem, we were blessed indeed with 8 children, 7 daughters and 1 boy. And that 1 boy is here, actually. He's working as a bike mechanic in Moshe's Derech Aufnaim shop in Givat Shaul. And the Geerz committee was nice enough to invite him to ride with us, so he rode with us today, and Bezrat Hashem also tomorrow. Now, as Chaim mentioned also, I'm retired, and I retired after 40 plus years of successful career in different high-tech companies, including managing a startup in the technological incubator of JC Tech. I'm actually an alumni, a boger of Nachum Lev, Machzor 9. I don't know if you know what that means, but that's a long time ago. And I've done all kind of managerial jobs. And Baruch Hashem, when I retired, I decided that that's it, enough. I want to do something which is more of, let's say, value, erki, and I was looking around for different opportunities, and eventually I ended up by being introduced to Geerz, and somehow immediately there was this chemistry. Why? Because the combination of doing something for a good cause and working also physically at my age was a good combination, which I immediately identified with, and that's why for the last nearly 4 years I have been volunteering, full volunteer in Geerz, starting with community riding in Bet Shemesh and Modi'in, and after that moving to the youth village in Neve Landi, which is based within a compound within Even Shmuel in the southern part, not too far from Kiryat Gat. Why, and this is a secret, why did I initiate the, let's say, the request to speak? this is a secret, right? Chaim and Nachum, I came to you and I said,
It was before you spilled the beans.
yeah, and why did I have, let's say, the chutzpah and the pretension to say I want to be a guest speaker? Because I think I can be of a source of inspiration with the stories and the experience that I'm going to share with you in a second. And it wasn't that easy. And you know why? Because for some technical, logistical reason, I was not prepared to give a written speech ahead. I said, I want to make some kind of a testimony of my experience and my feelings about working with kids for nearly 4 years. You all know what youth villages are about. I don't have to preach the priest, right? And we all know that we are dealing with kids who have some emotional and behavioral issues. But the one where I've been working for the last 2.5 years is called Veilandi. I think there's a presentation also about Veilandi maybe later. Is really the hardcore of the youth villages. Actually, it's not even called a youth village. It's called Pnimiat Revacha. It's a dormitory or welfare dormitory. The kids there are not there because they like it or because even the parents want. They are there because the court decided that they cannot stay at home. And some of them, by the way, do not have proper homes. And if they have, they are not really, normal homes. And these kids that I've been working with in Veilandi for the last 2.5 years, they obviously show all kind of very, very strange behavioral patterns. They can be very rebellion, they can be very nagging, fighting and all that. And when we apply the Geerz program, they think they come for just a chug, a fun. And the beauty of the Geerz program, and that's where I bring my own testimony, is that the transformation that these kids go from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, and we are very near the end of the season this year, is something they don't even realize, they don't even know, because the Geerz program makes them move the yardstick, the limits that they thought they cannot go beyond, in a very subtle way. I know it says here therapeutical program, but the kids don't know it's a therapeutical program. The kids just come, and in the beginning of the season, in the beginning of the year, they are not comfortable in doing certain things, and in a very subtle way, they learn to move, as I said, the yardstick. And I want to tell you the story about one specific boy. Last year I had a very difficult case. The boy was, as I said, rebellion. He didn't want to do anything. By the way, in the youth village of Veilandi, it's almost mandatory that they will go to a chug, and most of them choose the bicycle, the riding, the Geerz program. But he was like, no, I'm a nobody, I can't do that, it's too much for me, in the beginning of the season. And I was trying to get, close to him, and almost no way to communicate with him, until slowly I managed to approach the boy. He was asking always to ride my bike, my personal bike, and I know that not many people would want to give their bike to kids like that, but I did, and somehow he opened up, and from the position of saying I'm a nobody, I don't want, I can't, I don't, please don't, he started to see that he can do certain things. Well, we all know the program. It goes from from standing position and turning and taking care of your bike and downhill and uphill and using the brakes properly. And slowly, you know what? By the end of the season, he was my assistant. He became so attached to the program and to me to a certain extent that he was good and he became sort of assistant. But when I try to understand, and you have to know that we as Geerz instructors are not allowed to look into their files because these kids have got very, very difficult, let's say, cases, social and sometimes also legal. By the way, a lot of these parents have criminal records, and that's why the kids don't even go home. In the Velandi, by the way, there's only 50 kids. But you know what? There's more than 50 Tzevet members from every aspect. And that's not even including schooling, because they go to learn outside of the Velandi. And this boy, I could not, refrain from asking the Tzevet there, please tell me what makes this boy so difficult at the beginning of the season. And you know what they told me? They told me that him and his brother were left when he was 3 years old and his brother was 4 years old. They were left in the street. So they were found, and you can imagine what they went through. They went to foster homes, they went to all kind of, institutions, and eventually they ended up in the Velandi. So what can you expect from kids like that? And there's not just one kid. They were all with these kind of special situations. And Geerz made the transformation. It's a miracle, really, mamish, it's a miracle. Because it's done, as I said, in a way that they don't really realize, but slowly they are moving their yardstick, they're moving their limits. And after all, isn't that what we're all supposed to do? To make our best efforts, our ishtadlut, and move always the yardstick a bit further. So I want to conclude by just asking you to realize that kids like, for the sake of, let's say, the presentation, we'll call him Jonathan, okay? There are not 2 or 3, there are maybe hundreds, if not more. And in order to help them, we need to open more and more programs of the Geerz. The Geerz is, I think, probably the only program that works this way and make miracles in the transformation of the kids. And believe me, they get all kind of medicine. Sometimes I have to stop in the middle of the ride because the Tzevet, the Madrich or the Bat Shirut has to give them the medicine. But all these medicines, excuse me, they, in the best case, they will stabilize the situation, the medical situation of the kid in avoiding a further deterioration. But it's not really rebuilding or building their personality. It's not really helping them in being a better person and having more confidence. Only Geerz is doing that. And that's why we need more Geerz, and we need to move our own limits where we put ourselves in terms of helping Geerz, in terms of fundraising, in terms of doing whatever we can to help these kids. That's what we have to do. So I conclude by saying, let's do it, because in the same way as the kids can do it, we can also do it. Good luck to all of us.
Before October 7th, most people would have said, "Ay Gaval, what about our youth? The TikTok generation, the iPhone generation, how are they going to answer the call?" And boy, did they answer the call. There are bereaved families in the audience tonight. And our kids are 18-year-olds or 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, kids who we thought were so incredibly self-absorbed, proved to be the most dedicated, selfless, people we could have fathomed. But there's another story. Jordan Hertzberg told me today that 72% of the Israeli army consists of reservists. Many people here have served in the army, have done significant miluim duty in the past 2.5 years. I'd like to introduce you to a man who's done 700 days of miluim. That's 100 for each of his 7 children. Avner Blum is from Efrat. He's a participant in our reservist program, a person of remarkable charisma and depth. You'll decide for yourself. But a person who, most significantly, represents, to me, the most moving thing about this country. That when the chips are down, asking people to make the ultimate sacrifice, to set aside everything and answer the call, simply because your fellow Jews need you, I'm there. No conditions, no contingencies, no rainy days, we're there. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Avner Blum.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Chaim, thank you very much for the introduction. If you look at my life on a piece of paper, it's a study of profound contrast. In my civilian life, my day-to-day life, I serve as a supply chain director for a biotech company called Aleph Farms. We produce cultivated meat. We focus mainly on building sustainable systems, creating life, feeding the world, but most importantly is my family. I'm a father of 7 children and a husband, and that's my real world. That's my whole life. That's my real world, and that's also my first world. But there's a second world I also inhabit, which is the IDF. In the IDF, I'm a former officer, and during the war, I was a company commander for an infantry unit. For years, balancing these two worlds was just part of Israeli reality. We would put on our olive uniforms, we would raise our families, build our careers, and we would defend our borders, just part of the Israeli reality. But nothing prepared me, or for us, for that matter, how vicious and violently those two worlds were about to collide. I want to show you a picture over here. This was 2 months before the war, and that's my youngest son. He's 3 now, and back in the day it was 2 months. And I just want to make a Back to the Future reference, if you remember the movie, whoever remembers it. So when Marty McFly buys the sports almanac, and then Biff steals it and goes back into the past to tell his younger self to bet on certain games so that his older self can be rich, that's what I feel over here. I feel like if I could just shake myself 2 months before and say, wake up, there's a war going to happen, there's going to be a war that's going to happen, and I'm going to tell you exactly where you should be, and maybe I could have saved more lives or be more involved. And it's just very significant to be this picture, because that's what I left the house with, a 2-month-old baby and another 7 children. The morning of Simchat Torah was supposed to be a morning of joy. It was supposed to be a morning of family, community. Instead, it was the day that the world cracked open. I remember the sheer jarring suddenness of leaving my house that morning. One moment, you hear kids in the house running around with laughter, preparing yourself to go to shul, and the next moment you're stepping into a nightmare that was unfolding in real time. As a soldier, you don't have the luxury of a shock. You have no time to process. You solely operate on training adrenaline, and responsibility. In my case, responsibility for 120 soldiers that I was in charge and command over, and had to make sure that they come home safe and sound, physically and mentally. During that period, I didn't speak to my wife or my children for a whole month consecutively. 30 days without seeing or hearing them. 30 days of them not knowing if I was safe or where I was. You see, as a commander, you have to take emotions, longing for a family, and lock it tightly in a sealed box. If you open that box open for just a fraction of an inch, out comes hesitation. And hesitation has a price on the battlefield. That was only my first deployment. After that, like Chaim said, I served another 700 days. 700 days where I really left my family, 700 days where I left my career, 700 days where I had to carry the psychological ramifications of war. I asked if I could share this picture also because I think it's very significant, and I think it can resonate with everyone here as Jews, as Am Yisrael. So basically, I don't know if you can see the picture now, but we received many missions. Part of them were action, part of them were securing, and part of them were also looking for body parts. Because if you find a body part, then you can make sure that you can tell the Israeli government if this person is missing or if he passed away. So basically, after a few weeks of checking and looking and trying to find all these different body parts, which we found some of them, and we brought closure to those families, there was an initiative. The IDF took initiative and they started to bring archaeologists. So you ask yourself, why would they bring archaeologists? Because sometimes when you didn't find the body parts and you didn't know they were missing and you didn't know they were kidnapped, you had to start looking for body remnants inside the walls. Meaning the houses were basically, a lot of houses were blown up. I don't know if anybody's seen pictures or not, but a lot of houses were blown up because of grenades and RPGs, and some of the bodies just were obliterated. So the initiative that the IDF took was to collect remnants of the walls that might have body parts or bones or teeth inside the walls. And these archaeologists would sift through this rubble to try to find any DNA remnants. And I remember when I was there, it was just so, it was like, I felt like it was an epiphany. Like, I felt like in 1,000 years from now, when a kid is learning some form of the Tanakh, the Torah, or history books, I could just see a pasuk floating around and saying like, Veikach tzvatim rabim, v'chapez ben akirot et achehem, because it was so biblical. It felt so biblical to me. And I said, I have to take a picture of this because it was extremely moving. And that was just part of the things that we had to deal with. It's also a lot of psychological weight to see these kind of things also. So that was just some of the things that we had to deal with. So when you live in survival mode for so long, there's a chasm. The chasm that opens up and becomes deeper between you, the soldier in the field, and you, the father at home. And which brings me actually to the hardest part of my journey, was coming back home. Society expects from you to take off your uniform, go back into your office, work as a regular worker, sit at the head of the table as a father, and be present. But reality is you aren't fully there. Your body has crossed the threshold of your house, but your mind is still in the battlefield. You feel isolated, alone, and yearning to go back. This is just a video of when I came back, and the dissonance of happiness and also kind of like sadness, because it was hard. It was a hard time actually to come back. I know this looks like a happy video, but in truth, it was very hard also for my kids and for me to deal with coming back, and still working. We're still working on ourselves, also the kids and me, to make that full transfer. About this time, this is when Geerz came into my life, and why it's such an extraordinarily program to me. Geerz is not an outdoor program. Geerz is a lifeline. Geerz is a lifeline. And I say that because I've done many outdoor programs in my life, and many of them have included going to a beach or playing ball outside. Geerz is not like that. Sometimes it's hard to articulate what you've seen or done or what you've experienced. And Geerz gave me the space where words weren't necessary. Out on the trails, navigating rocks and steep drops, this really helped me transfer back into civilian life. Another thing that was really important for me in Geerz was the community and the camaraderie. A lot of the guys in the Miluim IDF program went through the same experiences. We saw the same things. We were in different areas of action zones, but basically we had the same experiences. And it was just amazing because we would ride together, we would make some coffee on the way with an amgazit, and then we would cry some more, maybe we'd laugh, we'd tell a story, and it was really connecting and empowering. Most importantly, it was an outlet to release trapped energy, to let me be Avner again and unseal that box that was sealed on Simchat Torah. Geerz doesn't erase the past. You can't erase 700 days. But it taught me, and it gave me tools to carry the weight differently. It helped me find a way back to my family, and for that I will be forever grateful. And I just want to say that I'm really, really grateful for all the donators here, and I really didn't really know the whole parada here, and I didn't know what was going on, who was donating and what, but I understood while I was riding, and also Avi Steinman was telling me more about the Miluim program, and I understand that there's a big demand. There's a lot of Miluim people that this can really, really, really help them out, just like they helped me out. And I think that it's amazing what you're doing, and I want to just tell you thank you so much for letting this happen, letting this be a tool for me to deal with. I'm sure that it's not just a one-stop tool and that's it. It's going to be a long journey, but I know that it's the beginning, and it's something that it helped me a lot, and I know that other people, that it could help them also, and I just want to say thank you very, very much, and I'm very, very grateful.
Ladies and gentlemen, our program is drawing to a close. We won't keep you much longer, but if I can keep it together for the next minute or two, you'll understand why it's not an easy thing. A year ago, at the Geerz banquet, Orna Schneider spoke about the impact that Geerz had on the children of Shavei Darom. Orna was very well received. People were deeply moved by her presentation. And Orna said something which turned out to be prophetic. She said, and now, if you could work some of that magic that Geerz does with kids, with our husbands. Well, you just heard about the reservist program. What you don't know is that Orna's husband, Yoel Schneider, 2 months ago in Lebanon, was hit by a Cornet missile. He was very seriously wounded. He's been in the hospital for 2 months, still recuperating. It is an unspeakable privilege to introduce him tonight, standing in the corner, straight from the hospital. Please stand up, Yoel. Not all superheroes wear capes. Yoel is in our reservist program. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I want to conclude my remarks by throwing down the gauntlet and issuing a challenge. Geerz is not just a good thing. There are lots and lots of good things. There are lots of Balei Chesed in this country who are making a real difference. But Geerz is nothing short of a national imperative. There are thousands of reservists, thousands of kids who are at risk, who are suffering, who the conventional system is failing. Conventional therapy doesn't work. The resources of governments are overtaxed, ineffective. Don't you think that we owe these people the benefit of something that is truly effective? There are a lot of very, very savvy businessmen in this room. In my experience, savvy businessmen want to make sure that their charitable dollars are well spent. So here's my challenge to you. You want to make sure that your tzedakah bucks make a real bang, are impactful, are efficiently spent? Then do this. Get together in this room. Doesn't have to be tonight. I wouldn't mind if it was. And commit to sponsoring 10 more soldier groups. Change the lives of 150 more soldiers. Make sure that these people can go back to their families, that can reintegrate back into their lives. Make sure that the kids can lead normative lives, can be productive members of society, can become the heroes that the TikTok and iPhone generation became back on October 7th. That's my challenge to you. But it seems a little bit ungrateful to ask people who've done so much to do more. But as I said, this is a room full of great people. So thank you very, very much, and God bless.